Good morning, everyone. I hope that you can hear us well. Thank you for joining this webinar. While some of you might still be joining and connecting, I will start by presenting myself. So my name is Danae Kokkalis. I am a Senior Communication Officer at the European Heat Pump Association. And before we get started with some first things, I have a question for you to get warmed up. So my question would be, where are you connecting from? And I will send this as a poll onto your screen, so you will see a message pop up in a few seconds. There you go. So where are you connecting from? Which location? You can just type it in. Okay. I see some answers already. So Brussels, Spain, Italy. We are currently based in Brussels. Okay, I see that you're also typing in the chat. So Netherlands, Germany, Belgium. You can also type it into the poll that's popped up on your screen. Poland, China. Okay. Very nice. Good. Then I will move on if that's okay. And I would like to start with just some housekeeping rules, even though most of you must be familiar with them. So currently your microphone and camera are disabled. That's normal. That's to avoid any potential disruption. The meeting is being recorded, so you will be able to find the recording in the following days. You can ask your questions in the chat. Don't forget to always name the person you are addressing your question to so that they can respond later on. And that's about it. I think we can move on to the program for today. This is our agenda. So I will start with a brief introduction of EHPA in a minute. Then Tariq will take over, presenting an overview of the Heat Pump KEYMARK Certification and the Quality Label program. Then he will also present the common points and differences between the two. We will then have a short break to catch our breath. And then André Jacob will take the floor to present data and the databases and how they communicate with each other. And we have foreseen enough time at the end to answer any of the questions you may have. So feel free to add them in the chat, as I said. And then we should be done for lunch break by 12. So I'll give you a brief introduction of EHPA, as I said. So we're talking about Heat Pump KEYMARK, we're talking about Quality Label, but what is EHPA and where does it stand in all of that? So we are the European Heat Pump Association. We currently have over 220 members. We were founded in 2000. And our membership covers the entire value chain. So we have heat pump manufacturers, component manufacturers, national associations, but also testing laboratories, utilities, consultancies, research institutes and universities, and also some heat pump-based services and startups. So we really cover the entire value chain, and we are represented in over 30 countries. So we are broken down in 4 departments. We have the policy team. They are the ones who advocate, do the advocacy work. They are the ones who are between our members in the sector and the institutions, trying to make sure that the decisions made at European level reflect the needs of the sector. We have the projects as well. We are involved in quite a lot of European funded projects, and we also have the Heat Pump Award held annually, and we usually announce the winners at the forum, which is our annual event in September. We also have the comms and events team. So our role is to communicate effectively and translate the association's work into clear, engaging, and hopefully persuasive messages. And we do that both on online platforms, but also during in-person events that we organize. And finally, but not least, we have the Heat Pump KEYMARK and Quality Label. So as EHPA, we are coordinating the Heat Pump KEYMARK Secretariat, but EHPA has also developed the Quality Label program. I will not tell you more about this because it's actually the topic of today's discussion. So all I can do now before I pass the floor to Tariq is ask you what category best describes you. And this calls for another poll so that we get to also know you a little bit better. So now on your screen, you should see another poll with the question, what category best describes you? So you can choose, I am KEYMARK certified and would like to get the quality label. Or maybe you have the quality label but would like to get the KEYMARK certification. Or maybe you have both the KEYMARK and the quality label. Or none of the two, you are not certified, but you are interested in getting certified. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you are replying. Or maybe none of these options fits you, and that's also fine. But if so, you can select one of the options. Okay, so I'm seeing results. A lot of you are not certified but interested. And then the following category is, I am KEYMARK certified and would like to get the quality label. And then I also see that some of you are typing your answers in the chat. Okay, then that's very good because that means that hopefully today, walking out of this meeting, this webinar, you will know which certification suits you best and how to get certified. Okay, that's all for me for now. I will pass the floor to Tariq, who will present both the Heat Pump KEYMARK and the quality label.
Okay. Thank you, Danae. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar. I'm glad that we have a large group joining us and listening to us. So the interest is still here about the KEYMARK, the quality label and certification in general. So thank you and welcome again. In my presentation today, I will make a parallel between the KEYMARK certification and quality label. We have a lot of questions and requests for both certification and for the certification for the KEYMARK and the quality label. At the opposite of a definition of a parallel, that are two lines that never cross. I remember this from school. We will see that we have many crossing between and common points between the two schemes. So to start with this parallel between KEYMARK and the quality label, it is interesting to show the ID of these two schemes. So the KEYMARK is owned by Sen and Senelec. So probably two decades ago, the Commission was looking at having a harmonized certification schemes, not only for heat pumps, but for any product or service. And that's how the idea started. And they built and they developed this KEYMARK scheme. This is why this KEYMARK scheme and concept is still within the Sen and Senelec as the final owner. And they manage the scheme as well, but we will see the difference, how this management is done. Then for the KEYMARK specifically for heat pumps, the rules, I looked at the archives and I can find that they started the discussion before 2016, but the first formal rules are dated back to 2016. This scheme is, of course, still active, and the scheme from the beginning, and that was the idea of Sen when they created the KEYMARK, was a voluntary approach. So this is for KEYMARK. Now, if we jump to the quality label, quality label was developed before the KEYMARK certification for heat pumps. And the idea was to come with a quality scheme for heat pumps. And that's why, as the natural group association dedicated only to heat pumps, that it was EHPA who developed this quality label with not only support, with a very, very important involvement of Germany, Austria, Switzerland, that were really supporting and helped to develop the scheme from the early days back to 1998. The scheme is also still active, and we are still using it and referring to it in different countries. We will see that later on. And it is also the concept is a voluntary approach. So you can see here that we have already a lot of common points between the KEYMARK and the quality label. In terms of I try to find a title for this slide about the scheme structure. So what is the base for these two schemes? For the KEYMARK, when it was developed, it was clearly to align with the requirements of the eco-design and to be compliant to the eco-design, lot 1 and the other lots. And it was when they thought about the eco-design, but still the KEYMARK, they needed to have technical references and requirements, and that's where we refer to the EN standards for heat pumps. And as a condition for a KEYMARK scheme, it is important to know that you can develop a KEYMARK scheme for a product like heat pumps, but you need to refer. This is a condition. You need to refer to European standards. And that's why for the KEYMARK in general, you can see different KEYMARK for not only for heat pumps, but for insulation, for the solar sector, and for radiator valves and other things like this. But so it means that all these products are backed by European standards. So that was the base, the structure of the base to build the structure of the KEYMARK for heat pumps. Quality label, same concept, except that I told you they came before the KEYMARK. So the idea also was to demonstrate quality, to demonstrate compliance to eco-design, and the idea was always to refer to European standards. So it was perfectly built as well at that time, well thought. And the quality label is dedicated exclusively to heat pumps. So EHPA is an association dedicated to heat pumps exclusively and focusing only to this sector of products and nothing else. So naturally, the quality label that was developed by EHPA under the EHPA umbrella was, of course, dedicated only to heat pumps. We have also, for the quality label, some discussions where we are looking at covering specific points and requirements at national level, because you will see in the next slides that the quality label is developed and delivered at country level. So we are also discussing on how eventually we can include some specific requirements to specific countries. Now the governance, also maybe the word is a bit strong, but I wanted to say who is managing this who is managing, who is developing these schemes. That's what I mean by governance. Maybe the word is a bit too fancy for this slide, but what you need to know is that the KEYMARK for heat pumps is managed by a scheme group. The work, the rules, the requirements, new products, new technologies that are included when we expand the scope of the KEYMARK, that is always open to expansion. There is no restriction in terms of products and technologies. This is the steering committee who is doing the work. So they will all look at how these requirements, new requirements, how eco-design development that is also coming with a new version will be embedded, will be included to make sure that the KEYMARK is aligned with the requirements. So this is the steering committee work. And then this scheme group will overlook and will review the steering committee work and vote to adopt any changes, modifications, extension, or any decision. Then between this scheme group and steering committee, there is the KEYMARK secretariat. That's where I'm sitting with Danae as a EHPA. We are running the secretariat, and we have our, by the way, mandate as secretariat extended for the next 5 years at least. So we are happy that we had the confidence and of the scheme group and the steering committee renewed. So we are the secretariat coordinating the scheme group, steering committee, and helping also to communicate within this triangle of manufacturers, steering committee, scheme group, and we have in the middle, of course, the laboratories and the certification bodies. So all the KEYMARK is supervised by SEN, and SEN to do so is delegating, is mandating also an organization. In this case, it's the INSERTCO as the KEYMARK management organization. So the INSERTCO as KMO is supervising and framing all the activities of KEYMARK. So we are not taking, again, in isolation, any decision without having the green light from SEN to do so. For the quality label, it was developed and managed by EHPA, who designated technical committee. So it was decided in the rules that we will have a technical committee that is called the Quality Label Committee. And then this Quality Label Committee is managing the national quality label commissions. So at each country that is interested to use the quality label, you have a national quality label commission who is going to be the, let's say, representative of the scheme, the quality label scheme within a specific country. The same here for the quality label, same as the KEYMARK. We as EHPA, naturally as well, are the secretariat and managing the scheme and making sure that the coordination is made between the Quality Label Committee and the National Quality Label Commission. Now, the schemes for the KEYMARK and EHPA, this slide is already showing one of the most important differences between the two schemes. Because the KEYMARK is a third-party certification. So it means that the certification is delivered by a certification body that is 17065, that is ISO 17065. And the certification is sustained and maintained year after year by monitoring, by doing audits, testing. So this is a third party, I would like to say, a real third party certification scheme. So the certification is independently delivered to the manufacturer. For the quality label, there is also the concept of the testing by independent laboratories that are, of course, ISO 17025. And the certification, the label, I would say, because it's not certification, the quality label is delivered by what we call the Quality Label National Commission by country. So let's say the national commissions are the certification bodies equivalent, let's say, to the KEYMARK certification bodies. So this is already a difference that is important, is that the KEYMARK is a third-party certification and the quality label is a, I would like to say, a quality label. It's a quality. It's a scheme proving the quality of a product. But again, you will see that the testing, the requirements are as stringent as for both schemes. The follow-up is different. So in numbers, the KEYMARK, we have as I said, the certification bodies are delivering the certification, and we have 11 certification bodies that are empowered by CEN itself. And we have 29 laboratories that are 17025, and they are recognized by the CBs, by the certification bodies. So the certification bodies will recognize a laboratory and will pair with them when they want to, for a project, when they want to certify an equipment. The inspection bodies are recognized by the CBs, are designated, are selected and recognized by certification body as well. These inspection bodies are required to have at least the 17020. Now, for the quality label, we have the scheme is managed by the national commissions in Austria, in Switzerland, Germany, Poland, and they are all empowered by the quality label committee. And as I said, the testing is also conducted. So testing is required, obviously, to obtain a quality label. Is conducted by one of the 14 laboratories that are recognized by quality label committee, and they are 17025 as well. Now for the scope for KEYMARK and EHPA quality label. It sounds like in the quality label, in the KEYMARK, we have more wider scope, but it's just that the definition is in the rules are more detailed. But I can say that it's the same scope. It's comparable. Both schemes are covering more or less the same scope, and there is no real big difference. So we are covering almost all the heat pumps that are, it can be heating and also for domestic hot water or combination. For the tests that we do, so here the same, we can have a comparable scope of testing. So we are always challenging the testing, the heating capacities, the hot water, of course, the sound power, and we have all the operational tests related to the equipment that needs to be challenged, the products documents. Quality label is going a little bit further with the product documents, documentation, and they look at the customer services. So the aftermarket availability of spare parts and things like this. But again, we can easily compare the two type of test. I mean, nothing really specific that is different from a scheme to another one. So in terms of number of certificates, we have for KEYMARK around 2,500 valid certificates. For quality label, we have 1,600, and the models are almost the same number of models that are covered for both. So we have 9,500 for both, more or less for both schemes that are holding KEYMARK certificate, or they have the quality label, or both in some cases. Now for the process, for the KEYMARK, the application, for the process, we'll have later André, who will explain in detail the process and the approach. So it will be interesting to listen to him. Here I'm giving just some brief comparison again. For the KEYMARK, the manufacturer or the distributor will go first to one of the empowered certification body. They will discuss about the project. They will agree on how to on the family of products and types, subtypes, and selection, and deciding what are the testing to be done. Is it periodic testing regime or something else? So all this will be discussed between the manufacturer, distributor, and the certification body. And then there will be the choice of the laboratory. So the manufacturer will need to opt for one of the laboratories that is working with the specific certification body that they decided to go with. And then we start the process of the auditing, the factory inspection. So we'll organize this, the sampling, all this will be organized with with the certification body and the laboratory. When the testing will be completed and the audit report or inspection report will be done, then the certification body will review both the test report, the audit report, the non-conformities eventually of the audit, and will make a certification decision and will deliver a certificate. Then when the certification is delivered and the database will show your certificate, André will tell you more about this later. The initial project, the initial certification project is completed, and then we will look at an annual monitoring, because again, it's a third-party certification. Every year we will look at organizing an inspection on site of the production location. And if you are in a process of periodic testing, then maybe you will have to do some testing and to complete all your testing schedule as agreed with the certification body. And the validity of the certificate is 10 years. Now we jump to the quality label. So the application, so you need to, as I explained, the quality label, I don't know if I explained it very well, but every country, the quality label is at country level. So if you want to go to Austria, you need to contact the National Quality Label Commission in Austria. If you want to go to Switzerland, you need to contact the National Quality Label Commission in Switzerland. If you want to go to Germany, the same. So the first step for quality label is to contact the National Quality Label Commission. All the contacts of these National Quality Label commissions are on the website of EHPA website. There is a dedicated section where you can see the contact names, the recognized laboratories, so you can start to work with the National Commission of the country of your choice. And then you will also prepare, and André will explain how you will prepare your file, you will apply, and it will be the National Commission who will review and decide for the compliance, and will deliver the quality label. And the certificate is 12 years validity, but you will have checks 3, 6, 9, but it's detailed in the rules how these checks are done and what we check every 3, 6, and 9 years to reach the 12 years. Now, in terms of recognition and referencing, this is the hottest topic, in my opinion. I receive every day emails on this topic. So as a KEYMARK is the only third-party certification that is recognized at European level and delivered by Europe, by the Commission, by CEN. So it's backed by CEN. That's the only one. You don't have two, you have only one. It's KEYMARK. Now, KEYMARK is recognized by the quality label. So for the first time, we can jump from the box, the left to the right one. So we can cross because KEYMARK is accepting. The quality label is recognizing the KEYMARK certificates under conditions that are now quite clear and well defined. We still have some challenges. I will not avoid this point, of course, but this is clear that today the recognition is still there and established. It gives also direct access to the UK market. So as soon as you have the quality, you have the KEYMARK certificate, you can ask your certification body that you want to have your products recognized in the UK, so to be uploaded in the MCS database. This is something automatic. There is nothing to do more. It can be done within the same day, and it gives also access to the French market. So to have the NF and to be compliant, you can also have refer to your KEYMARK certificates and test reports. And yes, I explained that quality label is recognizing the KEYMARK, so indeed it will give you access to the DACH countries via the quality label. And today the KEYMARK is still, I'm saying still, referenced in Poland for the Zoom list. I'm saying still because there is the discussion. We haven't a formal confirmation, but until the end of the year, we can still refer to with KEYMARK to be listed in the Zoom list. But starting January, there are discussions that maybe it will not be the case anymore. But we are following up this. It's not the topic of today, but just to let you know that we are still very, very attentive and following very closely for the situation, as maybe next year the situation will be different. Now, if you move to the quality label, as I said, the quality label in DACH countries is a must. It's not good to have. It's not nice to have. You need to have the quality label for Austria, Switzerland, and eventually Germany. Germany's situation is a bit different, but for sure, it's a must-have for Austria and Switzerland. It is also referenced in Poland for the Zoom list. Czech Republic is looking at it closer as well, and it is also of their interest. And this scheme is interesting because it's flexible and it can be referenced at any time in any new coming subsidy scheme that is looking for a quality label that is tested and followed up. So that's also interesting. So I wanted to finish my presentation with the certification benefits. Probably some of you have seen this several times, but it's good to show it again. We know that the certification, in this case, KEYMARK or a quality label, can benefit both users and the businesses, the manufacturers. So for the user, it is important for them when they will choose, they will go and buy a heat pump, that they know that the product is compliant, that the claims, the performance of the equipment was checked in a laboratory and compared to the claims, and that there is a third party doing this. It's not a self-declaration. So the user is and here the end user will feel confident because it is certified or they have the quality label. For the user also, it is important for them to realize that they can compare products that are certified, because they can compare the documents, the certification. They can easily compare two products, which is very important, as you can imagine, for someone who is going to decide to buy a heat pump. And yes, somehow this certification is pushing in the right direction, in a positive way, to have the competition working on products that are of quality and keeping also the pricing in mind, which is important for a buyer. So this certification is creating a dynamic that is in favor of the end user, and not creating a kind of cartel or whatever of manufacturers, but it opens the market in a positive way. For the manufacturer, for the businesses, it's clear that as we said, to be aligned with eco design, to be aligned with any coming requirements that are, by the way, coming, it is important that certified products will help them to be aligned and to be compliant with any regulatory. So they reduce a lot of risks in terms of compliance, because they will be certified by a third party, or they will have a quality label that is backed by a third party laboratory. And also it is clear that long term, the savings the manufacturer will do because of the compliance with the regulatory, because of the checks of their quality, follow-up and monitoring of their own manufacturing locations, will certainly save them a lot of resources, human or financial. And of course, the fact, as I explained earlier, and you know it perfectly, is that it will open you a lot of markets because you have one of these two marks. I think I have finished. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope it was clear. If not, you can ask questions or send me an email anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Tariq, for providing this overview of the common points and differences, but also the benefits to both users and to the manufacturers. We're quite ahead of schedule, so I think it's time for you for us to take a break. It's probably a lot of information, and I'm sure some of us could use a coffee or a breath of fresh air. So we'll be back in 10 minutes with André Jacob, who will dive deeper into the databases and how they communicate. Hello again, everybody, and welcome back. Hope that you had some time to refresh yourself. In the meantime, I launched a poll. We were curious to know why you might be seeking a certification if you are a manufacturer. So I hope that you had time to respond. I will also share the question in the presentation here. Okay, I see some responses already. So I see words popping up like heat pump quality, European market, acceptance and promotion. Good. And I also see some answers in the chat. So a single market idea, one certificate for all countries in the EU, indeed. Not applicable for a test center. Yes, if you're a test center or a certification body in this webinar, thank you, first of all, for joining. But indeed, some of these questions might not be applicable to you. Okay, I think we can close this poll. And I think that we're ready to move on to the next part of this webinar and the last one. And this is for André Jacob, who will be giving us some insights on the databases, both Heat Pump KEYMARK and Quality Label, and how they communicate among them. André, I don't know if you can try taking over the presentation. Perfect. Then I'll give you the floor.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. To my introduction to both the KEYMARK database and the Quality Label database from a manufacturer's perspective. And in the following slides, I will guide you through the steps to obtain both certificates within the databases. As you can see on this comparative slide, the Quality Label database is based on the application process. That is creating applications, providing information about these applications, and obtaining the quality label after having the application processed by the National Commission. The KEYMARK database, on the other hand, is based on data management. That is, that data is put into the database and can be retrieved easily from the database to use the certified data against or for third parties that look for performance data. The application process is therefore different, and for the KEYMARK certificates, applicants reach out to CBs outside the database, and they do reach out to national secretariats or national commissions within the database. When you first start with the quality label, you need to reach out to one of the national secretariats to have your distributor added to the database and obtain access to manage applications for that distributor. And this is managed in common by all the national secretariats. So it does not matter which national secretariat you reach out to, because they all manage the data. So the test sample selection is in every case handled outside the databases. And in both cases, the model data is entered by the manufacturer within the databases. For the quality label, the data performance data might be imported from the KEYMARK database through an interface that connects both databases, and we will cover that later. And then the document provision is also handled within the quality label database, but not within the KEYMARK database. For both databases, the standards covered are the same as Tariq has displayed before. Additionally, for the quality label database, it asks for main components such as the compressor or the fan used in the units. This is a quick overview of the KEYMARK certification, and as you can see, the application and the provision of documents to the certification body, as well as obtaining the certificate, is all handled outside the database, but creating the subtype and the models you'd like to get certified are done within the database. We will also see this very point, step 2, later on. So this is the steps to create a subtype. So you first create a new subtype, you select your certification body in that very step. In this case, it's in the European Heat Pump Association for testing. Then you select the driving energy, the refrigerant, and the mass of refrigerant, as well as the heat pump type. And this is common across all models of that subtype. After creating a subtype, you will get to the detail page, and you can then spot the add button, add model button in the bottom. And after adding a new model, you select what this model is used for. For example, it's heating at medium temperature, but it could also be a low temperature heat pump or a combination of space heating and domestic hot water heat pump. And in this case, it only has an outdoor unit, so it's a monoblock outdoor heat pump. And we would also additionally get the data certified for a colder and warmer climate, and it is reversible. So after creating the model in the database, you get to an empty overview of the data. And this is indicated by not available across the entire data sheet. Then you can click edit and add the data that belongs to the model. And then after saving, you can see in the bottom right side of the slide that there's now data shown in that data overview. Because for model subtypes with a lot of models, this is very time and it is very intense and time consuming. You can also import data using CSV files, and to know which data is coded in which way, there's an import manual. When you get to the database, you will see below the language selection 3 links, and when you click on instructions, you will see the import manual, which will show all the data fields in the database. So you can, using an external tool, map all the performance data you'd like to have certified or copy data. After creating these models, you will get back to the overview of the subtype, the one we've seen before. And in this case, we see that there is inconsistent data in the database or in this subtype. Therefore, the model or subtype cannot be sent to the certification body for approval. And then you can click on Show Model to see, as indicated in yellow, that there are inconsistencies for different values or data fields in that model. And you also get an indication of where the allowable data range is. And in this case, there's a problem with the supplementary heater. And the allowable range is between around 5.3 to 6.3 kilowatts. So you'd need to correct these inputs before being able to send the subtype for certification and approval by the certification body. And these are all the steps you need in the KEYMARK database. Once you receive a KEYMARK certificate, it might be uploaded by the certification body to the database, so it's publicly available. Other than that, there's data report that is also always available in the database and can be downloaded from the public. The quality label, on the other hand, has its entire application covered by the database. And once you start as a new applicant, as a new distributor, you will see an empty applicant dashboard, and then you'd click on File a New Application. You will select Initial Application in most cases. You select your distributor. There might be several ones, depending on your business structure. Then you select the heat pump type, the country where the quality label should be valid in, and the test base, which is either the Heat Pump KEYMARK, which is the most common option, or directly through the EHPA testing regulations. After creating the application, you will get back to the overview. You can click on the application. On the identifier, you see in the leftmost column, and then you get an overview over your application. And there you can see there are errors displayed. That is that there are no models in that application, and there are also no documents provided. And therefore, you cannot submit the application. To provide model data, you can, if you apply for the quality label using EHPA as a test basis, so the EHPA testing regulations, you can add a model manually and then add the data, add the performance data manually or through a file import. If you go through the KEYMARK, EHPA KEYMARK, as shown here, you can add a certificate reference, which refers to an existing and valid KEYMARK certificate, and then you might import the performance data from there. In this example, I've typed in a certification number or registration number within the KEYMARK database, and then the manufacturer and certificate that belongs to is automatically imported and is saved by the quality label database. And then you might also add more than one certificate reference per application. Once you've added a certificate reference, you might import models from the heat pump certificate, and this is shown here. I've shortened the list because that was too overwhelming, but you get a selection of all the models in that certificate, and then you can either select all or just a few or one even to have them added to your quality label application. Once these have been imported, you would still need to add certain data to the to these models in the quality label database. That is because the KEYMARK database only provides performance data, so to the European standards we've seen before, but the quality label also asks for main components such as the fan, the compressor, and similar. And this is why you'd need to add those as well. And you can either do this by clicking on Edit or exporting the model data. So you get an Excel sheet, and then you change the data in bulk and then import it, and existing models would be amended by that new data. And after doing so, you can also submit the application, and only after doing so, the data is checked for validity. And this is done by the national commissions, and there is no automatic control for the performance data entered by the manufacturer. But prior to adding or to submitting the application, you still need to provide the documents, as Tariq has indicated before. The quality label has a slightly different scope and also asks for after-sales service and installation manuals, owner's manuals, and goes in that regard beyond the KEYMARK. And then to provide documents, you click on Add Document, then select the document you'd like to upload, and then you'd select the type of document that this is and that is covered by the file you'd like to upload, and also select the models you'd like to have covered, or that are covered by that file that you upload. For example, it might be that your installation manual only covers 5 units of your 8 units in the application, and therefore you'd need to upload 2 different installation manuals, and this is the way to do it. And after submitting the application, the application is handled by the national commissions, and then the PDF, the actual quality label, is generated in the database, and you can retrieve it either directly through the quality label database, or you retrieve it through the national commissions. For example, on paper, this is handled differently from country to country. And for this, this is the 2 databases covered from a manufacturer's perspective.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you for this comparison and for breaking down the different steps. I will take the control back. Okay. And we have one more poll for you. And that is, the question is in 3 words now that the presentations are over. What is your main takeaway from this webinar? Just in 3 words. I will launch the poll now. Okay, and while you are typing your questions, we can move on to the Q&A. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and make sure to mention the person you're addressing this question to, so that they know that it's for them and that they can answer. Okay, and I'm also taking a look at the polls. Okay, so I see some answers. Here, let's see. So better EHPA. If you can add more information in the chat on what you mean by better EHPA. Certification procedure, okay. Certification procedure has been covered in our previous webinars. You can always go back. It's on our EHPA website and on our YouTube channel. You can watch the recordings and find the presentations, but we keep it in mind for an upcoming webinar. So the certification procedure, the mark certification, synergies. Okay. Good. Now, do you have any questions for any of the speakers? You can type them in the chat as well. We have enough time to answer questions, so this is great. I see no questions in the chat, so I suppose that means that both Tariq and André, you were very clear. That's very good. Now I will close this poll again, and I have one last one for you. I will close the previous one so that we don't get mixed up. And that is what specific topics you would like us to cover in our future webinars. What would you like us to cover specifically? Is there anything that you would be interested in? And while you are typing your answers, maybe I can pass the floor to you, Tariq. I don't know if you have any last message, something you would want people who participated in the webinar to take with them. Any conclusions?
Yes, thank you, Danae. Thank you all for joining and for your interest. I wanted just to summarize and stress on specific points here. The benefits for the manufacturers, for the users. Again, certified equipment will enhance trust and confidence for the end user. We know that for the heat pumps, there is a highly competitive turf situation for the heating and cooling. So the fact that an equipment is certified will certainly only reinforce the trust and the confidence of an end user to buy a heat pump. This is one thing. I wanted also to stress on the fact that as we're doing today with KEYMARK and quality label, having the quality label recognizing the KEYMARK is really to align the approaches to avoid to pile up of the requirements for the manufacturer, for the sector in general. We need to make sure that we are putting all our energy to align the approaches and to avoid a fragmented certification landscape, because that's a threat that can be very detrimental to the sector. So the fact that we'll have a fragmented certification offer, it will generate trade barriers. It will shrink the consumer choice because of these different certifications. So some products will not access specific markets. So the choice of the end user will be relatively smaller, which is not good. And most of all, the fragmented certification landscape will erase this mark that is common in terms of technically agreed performance of an equipment and requirements. So it is important that we continue to consolidate the certification in the sector, but we need also to watch to not go in a fragmented landscape that will be detrimental to the sector. So that's very important. Thank you again for listening to us, and hopefully next time we'll come with another topic that will be of your interest as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Tariq. And speaking about other topics, I see Danny Dirkins in the chat says it would be nice to have a video on how to fill everything in, but also in the polls, I see a walkthrough guide would be useful. I also see, wow, a lot of suggestions. So to talk about the different countries, to talk about focus on the quality label more, the selection process, so maybe the application process, I imagine, common blockers, test points, so questions on testing, design factors, examples of the documents. So okay, we still have work to do, and we still have ideas for the next webinars. Thank you for adding those. Okay, thank you also to André for joining today and presenting the databases. The recording of this webinar will be available, as I said, on our website in the upcoming days and on our YouTube channel. You will also find the presentation, of course. But if you have any other questions, here you have our contacts and you can reach out to us if you have further questions. You had something?
I'm sorry. I'd like to suggest still, since we are far ahead of schedule, that we can do a live demo of adding all the data in for now. This is not a video, but maybe this helps.
Maybe a live demo, yes, since a walkthrough was requested and it seems to be something people are interested in. Yeah, that would be great.
Oh, I hope the screen is visible, and you can now see that I'm logged in as a manufacturer. I've found the manufacturer's page here, and this is my dashboard. And now I can add a new subtype that has a given name. So I first select the applicant because still it might be the case that there's more than one applicant that I take care of. Then I select my certification body, the driving energy, just as seen before. So this is the basic data that is shared between all the models that we will add. And I've skipped the subtype title. And now this is created. And currently it's all empty, but I can still change all the data, finding it here and down below, adding the model. But I will not add the model here. Instead, I will import the model data using CSV. And I've prepared a little file. I click on import CSV, but how to know which belongs where? As I said, there is an import manual. And in this manual, not only the CSV structure is described, it's also all the data fields and what these little numeric codes mean. So you can see the structure up here, like temperature, climate, and so on and so forth. And it's described down below which temperature application has which value, for example, and which heat pump type or heat source has which number. You can see this all here, and beyond that, you can see also the identifiers of the performance data. For example, this little cryptic combination of characters means that this is the heat output according to EN 14511, part 2, and this is the electrical input, the COP, and so on and so forth. And this is for all the data that is asked for in the database. So, and with that regard, you can map your internal databases to provide data as a CSV file. And then have all these described. When we go up in these fields, you see these identifiers belong to the CSV file, and this is all decoded down below. You have generally two different formats, and this one is the default format, so one value per line, and this is the inline format, which has all the performance data in one row per model. So one row per model, and this is 1 row per value. So then I click on import CSV. Then it says that the CSV file has been imported successfully. I click on cancel. Then I get back to the subtype. I find my model down below. I click on show. I see there is no message on inconsistency. We could provoke that because if I have an existing model, for example, and I import the CSV file, but there might be a few differences between the two for various reasons, then I can, after uploading the CSV file and importing it, go into the different models and change performance data manually. And if it only is, for example, the sound power level that is changed between the two models, and everything else is the same, this is very convenient for data management. And after I'm done with the data management, I can click on set for approval, and this will be will show up at the certification bodies and dashboard, but they will not receive any email on this. So you still reach out to the CB outside the database. And this is what we've seen in the presentation before. And we will now switch over to the quality label database. And as you can see, you also have an applicant dashboard, which is has the very same visual, which is it is empty. And then you'd click on File a new application. You'd select the type of initial application. These little question marks will show you some hints on which to which application type, for example, to select, and also gives you hints throughout the database so you never get lost. Then you select the heat pump type, then where it should be valid in, then you select the test type, the two we've seen before. So I'll use the test type and Heat Pump KEYMARK, save it, get back to the dashboard. Then I can see my new application. I get a description of the current status when it's been created, and then I click on the application. Now I need to see which registration number to use for an import, because I will now, as you can see, I cannot manually add a model. So I need, if I go through the Heat Pump KEYMARK as a testing basis, I need to use a certificate reference for the application. And then I will add my registration number. I click on search. As you can see, it has found one. In this case, Wiesmann, we can't use the one from testing. Then I click on save, because this is the one I need, but I could also manually select the manufacturer and the certificate. Then I click on save, and I get back to my overview. Then I click on import models. It takes a bit of time because there are a few models on that subtype that need to be loaded and retrieved from the Heat Pump KEYMARK database. So please be patient with me while this loads. And as you can see down below, we can add documents and also have a log of the application. So it has now loaded. I will select all these 4 models, 6 models. Then I go down here, click on import, and wait for the quality label to download the performance data from the KEYMARK database to be added in the KEYMARK database. This also takes a bit of time.
I should have foreseen some elevator music for those moments.
And now these 6 models have been added to the application. I can also remove them again if one was added accidentally. Then I click on edit, and it's now indicated that the compressor 1 is missing is required. This is why it is red. And since this is data that is not covered by the heat pump KEYMARK database, it needs to be added manually by the manufacturer. But we will not edit the data now. So for this part, unfortunately, you need to use your imagination. And alternatively, you can use the export-import function to add data in bulk and to ease up the process. And then we can also add the installation manual, for example, or owner's manual. Then I say this applies to all these models that have been added to the application. I click on save. And that is it. And as you can see, there are no more errors in the database or in the application. And this is why it can be sent and submitted to the National Secretariat. As said before, you have a log of any changes to that application. For example, it here shows that a document has been created by me, and what kind of document, which document, and which models it applies for. And so you have a quick overview. You can also share a note with the National Secretariat to read. And this is also added to the log down below. And then we would click on submit. And after submitting the application, the National Secretariat would receive an email from the database directly telling them that a new application has been submitted. And as far as this goes, this is also the quality label from a manufacturer's perspective.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you for doing this demo on the spot. It's great that we had this chance to do it now. I see there is a question from Eric. He says, hi, the user manual, can it be in English or does it have to be in the local language, the country you apply for?
It has to be in the local language. All the documents.
Okay, great. Any other questions for Andre after this demo?
Except for the test report, so to be more precise. So everything that is handled by the manufacturer to the installer or an operator needs to be in the local language, also covering anything that relates to the after-sales service. The test report might be in English, for example.
Okay, so all the document except for the test report, which can be in English.
So everything, the intended audience for the document is neither the national secretariats or commissions. It needs to be in the local language.
Okay, and Eric is saying, can test reports from outside be used?
Can you please rephrase?
Outside the EU.
For both the Heat Pump KEYMARK as well as the quality label, there's certain test centers covered by both schemes. For the quality label, there's a list of eligible test centers that might provide test reports. Those are all based in the EU. For the Heat Pump KEYMARK, they might be outside the EU, but they need to have an agreement between them and an established or recognized certification body.
Yeah, thank you, André. And you can find both lists on the EHPA and the KEYMARK website. I can also add some links for you if it's easier. Okay, thanks, André. If there are no more questions, I think we can close the webinar. Those of you who were patient and stayed until the end got to get a demo, so that's great. I see one more question from Eric. If the lab is accredited according to the ISO standard, is that okay then, even if the lab is abroad?
Not per default. So, as I said, the list of test laboratories recognized by the quality label are only based within the EU. But for the KEYMARK, there are also test centers outside the EU, but those need to have an recognition by one of the recognized certification bodies. So it's not like that any lab outside the EU or within the EU even, that does not matter, can be used for the KEYMARK application, but it needs to have an agreement with one of the certification bodies. There's no way around that.
So basically, we can always refer to the lists on the websites for the quality label and EHPA KEYMARK to know which test labs would be recognized. So the standard is then useless since there is another level added here.
The standard is not useless. The ISO standard 17025 is a mandatory and to be recognized by those schemes. So it's mandatory but it's not useless. I see that there's another step added there. But that shouldn't neglect the ISO standard. The ISO standard opens the door for recognition.
Yeah, the ISO standard is not useless because we are referring to this standard to be recognized by a certification body. So it's not useless. It's the base. Without this ISO standard, you cannot be recognized as a laboratory. What you call the other level that is added is just recognition. Certification body is taking the responsibility of the certification decision. So they need to know, they need to recognize the laboratory, they need to know about the laboratory, and the very first thing that they will ask for recognition is the ISO 17025. So the standard is definitely not useless, certainly not. It's just this extra level we need to know each other, let's say, as a laboratory and the certification body. That's I think, which is normal. Again, knowing the liability that the certification body is taking to certify an equipment based on a test report. This is the normal procedure. It's not specific to KEYMARK, to heat pumps. It's always like this. I mean, it's the common process. It's not that it's always like this. It's the common process. It's recognition by certification body, laboratory recognition by certification body. It's the regular and normal process.
So,
okay. Yeah.
So the standard is the base to get recognized. Is one of the pre-requirements.
It's yes. If the I'm reading your comment. So if the lab is approved according to 17025, but is not on the list or recognized by the CB, so then the effort should be to get the lab on the list of recognized list instead of running to both are options. It depends strategically what's the idea, but for sure you need, if you want to certify a product through a certification body, that this certification body is aware and knows about this laboratory that we are going to use. That needs to be 17025, but also that the certification body is working, is setting up a working relationship and a connection, a communication between the laboratory and the certification body. Yes, you don't need, yeah, and indeed, if you are using a lab that can be recognized by a certification body, it can be also an option, of course, especially if they are 17025. Then why not? Yes, it can be an option. Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question, but thank you.
So. Thank you. Okay, then I think it's time to wrap this up one last time. Thank you again for joining and for staying. Thank you again to Andre and Tariq for all the insights, and we'll see you. And Marta too. Yes, I'm not forgetting about Marta, who was helping us manage everything in the back end. And we hope to see you in one of our next webinars. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.